Hello and welcome to this month's virtual information session. My name is Joshua Lewa and I'm the Associate Director for Admissions and Recruitment here at the Brown School. Today's topic is living, learning, and practicing in St. Louis. And so we're really going to take a deep dive on all those three sections. And so we have a couple of people joining us. But before we get there, I just want to say thank you to our previous viewers for returning back to this conversation. And also for anyone who's new to this, we definitely thank you for joining us as well. We want to remind you that there's a collection of previously recorded videos on a whole host of topics, and so you can check those out on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check those out. There's a lot of really great content and information. Or you can check out the Brown School website, and we'll get you access to that information as well. I want to also share that I know we promoted this with Cynthia Williams, the Assistant Dean for Community Partnerships. She was going to join us, but unfortunately she can't be here today. We're dealing with some weather stuff here in St. Louis right now, and so quite a few folks have been affected by it, and so we'll definitely get a chance to have her in front of students during Admitted Student Weekend. So if you're able to come to Admitted Student Weekend, you'll get a chance to meet with Cynthia. But I'm certain our other guests here are going to be able to speak to Cynthia and how great she is as well. So this topic today that we're going to cover, which is living, learning, and practicing in St. Louis, is something that I'm extremely excited for us to cover today. I moved to St. Louis 16 years ago to work at Washington University, actually initially with undergraduates here, and I've come to fall in love with this city. It's been a great city where I've raised my son, who's a sophomore in college now. It's been a great place that has been where we were able to do a lot of stuff that was cheap or free, which is pretty super fun for raising a kid here. And it's been a city that definitely treated me really well. And so I'm extremely biased about this city. And so I really thought, you know, kind of as an office, we thought we should bring in some other perspectives. And so we do have two students who are going to join us, Arissa Calvert and Desiree Sacco, both who are in the MSW program. And so if we can just take a minute, if the two of you can just do a brief introduction of yourself, and then we'll just jump right into the questions.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Arissa Calvert. I am born and raised in the city of St. Louis, so this is home for me. I'm a second-year MSW student. My concentration is socioeconomic development, so domestic SED. And I'm currently doing my practicum, and I have been doing my practicum, both foundation and concentration, at the St. Louis Regional Chamber. So I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about that as we go along.
Well, hello, my name's Desiree. I'm a first-year MSW student here at the Brown School. I'm from New York, so I'm not a St. Louis native, but I've also grown to love it, and we can get more into that. I currently do my practicum at Park Central Development because I, too, am concentrating in social and economic development domestically. And I'm excited to tell you more about that as we move on.
That's great. So what we're going to do next is we're going to jump into just a few questions that we came up with to talk about all three of the areas of living, learning, and practicing in St. Louis, and get the student response to that as well. We're going to do our best to address previously submitted questions. And I want to remind you, there should be some sort of a comment section there on YouTube. You can go ahead and ask questions live on a whole host of things, and we'll definitely find time here during this broadcast to make sure that we answer those questions for you as well. So for the first question, I'm going to throw this out to both of you, because Desiree, you're from outside of the region, and of course, Arissa, you're from inside of the St. Louis region. In fact, you've lived in the city and also have lived outside of the city as well. I'm curious what ultimately pushed you to decide to either return to St. Louis from outside of the region or to move to St. Louis to pursue your degrees here at the Brown School.
All right. So for me, I decided to come to the Brown School because it's in St. Louis. I've always just really been focused on social justice, particularly like in education and like looking at systems. And during the time I was looking at grad schools and graduate school programs was around the time that the Ferguson uprising was happening. And it all just really just kind of coincided with what I wanted to do. So for me, St. Louis is ground zero for social change, and coming back home, already having like a supportive network of family and friends, coming to the top social work program was also a bonus, and just understanding that St. Louis has a lot of disenfranchisement both within the communities and within some of the social structures. And I knew that I always thought of St. Louis just kind of being big enough or small enough to be able to make a change and make an impact, but then big enough for that impact to go nationwide and to be seen. So that's just really what brought me to WashU. And this is actually the only school that I even applied to against all advice from my mentors. So I'm happy to be here.
I have a little bit of a different perspective on why I came here. I'm from New York, was raised there, went to undergrad there. Never pictured myself coming to the Midwest to do schooling, but as I was applying to a bunch of different schools, I was looking at cost of living as a big factor for me, and New York was too expensive for me to stay in if I was going to pursue graduate studies, so I was getting a little bit more attracted to St. Louis and some other cheaper areas. I also really wanted a city but community feel. New York can be a lot, and I had already done that kind of piece of my life, so I wanted something a little more mellow, more calm, where I can escape from a city but still have that city aspect if I want to go and reach that. Also, it's the #2 program, so I was really attracted to all the different programs it had to offer. Coming into my MSW, wasn't exactly sure which route I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to do macro-based stuff. I wanted to do things with systems, but I didn't know exactly which route, so I really loved the options that WashU had to offer. And yeah, finally, I actually didn't even realize all the social justice and all these kind of issues that were going on in the city of St. Louis until I got here. And once I got here, I became way more passionate about it and really found my niche in that area and trying to help communities grow and prosper. And this is a great city to do that in, if that's what you're looking for. But we also just offer a lot here. So
It's great. Thank you. So I appreciate your honesty in both of your perspectives. You know, I want to really focus on this idea of learning here in St. Louis. As you think about the Brown School being one of the top-rated programs in social work and having an excellent public health program, and now really pushing into this world of social policy, we seem to be taking on quite a bit at a high-level way. But there's something about the St. Louis area that provides a lot of opportunities that I know we often talk about, but I'd love to hear from your perspective when it comes to learning in St. Louis. You've kind of covered some of this, but what does learning in St. Louis look like for the both of you?
Oh, that's a great question. Because you can learn so much in St. Louis, but you have to be open to one, actually learning. You have to be open to gaining new relationships. And then you have to just be open to possibilities of just going either route. So coming into the Brown School, I just really wanted to open up an African-centered elementary school. Like, that was specific to what I wanted to do. I chose this program because some of the great professors, such as Sharita Butler-Barnes, Jack Kirkland, they were here, and I knew that they would be able to help me specifically open this school. But then in learning in St. Louis, I realized that we have a lot of charter schools and we have a lot of school choices. So opening up one specific school, although it'd be great for a certain amount of kids that attend the school, it wouldn't necessarily make that big impact that I was looking for. So like I said before, my practicum is at the St. Louis Regional Chamber. And the St. Louis Regional Chamber, we do business for businesses, so to say. So we make sure that in the city or in the St. Louis region, all of our businesses are thriving so that people can advance both socially, economically, and then we work a lot with politicians too. So I was able to learn St. Louis in a big picture, macro level picture. So as I was pulling together the pieces of how everything moves, like this is how the education system kind of moves, like these are the players, these are the politicians, these are our economic development people, I was able to learn how people interact and how people communicate. And then from the theory that we learn in class, from like a social, economic, political aspect of it, I was able to apply it to what I was learning in practicum. So going back to like the relationship aspect of it, I was able to just learn from the people that I got to interact with. And like St. Louis is so loving of students. If you put yourself out there and ask questions, they're more than open to give you anything that you need, provide you with any resources that you may need. So learning St. Louis, again, is about being open-minded, being open to the possibilities, and building those relationships. And then from there, I went from wanting to open up an African-centered elementary school to now, and many things have changed in between, but now it's more so like I'm learning more about collective impact and what does that work mean. So instead of just one school, how can I go into multiple schools and like develop out community school models where we're bringing in different nonprofits, different business owners, and doing the similar work that I wanted to do in one school, but now I'm able or wanting to be able to replicate it in many schools or in many different aspects. So just be open to learning and you will definitely learn.
Yeah, I agree with everything Arissa's saying. I think in the classroom, experience and learning has been great here, but what I really love about learning in St. Louis is that hands-on experience, is getting out in the community. We have so many opportunities here. WashU is connected to so many nonprofits, for-profits, governmental agencies that they can really help you find your niche, and you have your foundation and your concentration practicum, so you can play around a little bit, but each one of those gives you experience in the community. And at my current practicum, where I'm doing social and economic development for Park Central Development, it's a nonprofit that also does business for businesses and really trying to revitalize the community and help residents in the communities and businesses thrive so that, you know, there's an overall impact and better standard of living for everyone. So that's kind of what we're involved in. And just in my 2 short weeks of being there, I've been fortunate enough to sit in at City Hall at a public hearing. I've been fortunate enough to go to other nonprofits. One of them was this job employment nonprofit organization. I think it's called Employee Connections, and learn about the work that they're doing and build a relationship with them. So they're a nonprofit that actually helps people who've previously, you know, coming out of the prison system, getting them connected to communities, getting them connected to jobs, job training, and they just have such amazing programs that I wouldn't have known about if I didn't get to go in on that meeting, talk to them to try to form a partnership, and then learn more and take a tour around their organization and what they do. And then now we're building more relationships that way, and we're going to get involved in the work that they do with our organization. So just building connections, networking with people, learning more. There's so much, and everyone is super open to students here in St. Louis. So when you say you're a student at WashU, SLU, they realize that you want to learn and they want to help you. So they're just very open, and you can just form, you know, great friendships here. So it's really great to learn in St. Louis.
Great. So you both have done a great job at capturing practicing and learning in St. Louis, and I definitely want to open up the floor in a moment to if you want to talk about practicing in St. Louis. But let's talk about living in St. Louis. I mean, you returning from outside of the region to St. Louis, excuse me, and Desiree, you coming in from New York, and you kind of gave a little bit about that. But what is it like when you're actually on the ground? And I really led with this. I mean, one of the things that I think about in St. Louis is I grew up in Southern California, and we talk about kind of cost of living. I remember first coming here and having you know, drinks with friends and feeling like, oh gosh, you know, we're like a drink and a half in, it's time to go. Because coming from the Boston area at the time, it was one of those things of, you know, dinner and drinks is extremely expensive, and then realizing like we could stay for dessert, you know. And so there's so many really great things that almost one of our former students used to refer to it as disturbingly inexpensive. You know, we have, you know, free museums and zoos, and you can go to cool neighborhoods. And so there's a lot of things, but, you know, again, I'm biased, as you can tell. So I want to make sure that you hear from students. And so it'd be great to hear that your kind of perspective on actually, you know, when you're not being a student, or maybe when kind of your student life overlaps with your personal life, what is it like to actually live in St. Louis?
I don't know. Go for it,
Ready to
Izzy.
start that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, coming from, you know, the New York City area, I had the same fears of going out with friends, and, you know, they're like, oh yeah, let's get some drinks, and I'm like, like, you know, I'm on a budget here. And then just seeing that tab and being like, this is great. Like, I can actually have fun. I can still, you know, I was always worried about having to not have fun because I wouldn't be able to afford to. And St. Louis offers you that opportunity. I live very close to Forest Park, where they have that free zoo, and I went there when the weather wasn't 0 degrees. I went there, which, by the way, that doesn't happen a lot. But I went there and just really, for fun, we just walk there, walk around, doesn't cost you anything, and you can just get out, and they have like a bunch of free parks like that, a bunch of free events to do. So when I was here over Mid-Students Weekend and living here now, I just really fell in love with the different options that were made affordable to me that I didn't think would have been before. And it's just, what I say is that I get such a homey vibe here even though I haven't lived here for that long. It's just very, I don't feel like anyone's looking at me weird because I haven't always been from St. Louis. People are really open, and it just feels like such kind of a community family vibe living here. It's not as big and scary as New York to some extent, so I really liked that aspect of it and just everything that it has to offer.
Yeah, so for me, it's a little different because like being born here in St. Louis and like raised here, it's like I didn't really appreciate like the free zoo and the free museums and like all of the free stuff in St. Louis until I went off to undergrad. And then I was in like this super small town in rural Missouri, and we didn't have anything. Like for a mall, we had a super center Walmart. So it was like a huge culture shock for me. So coming back to St. Louis, I really appreciate everything that St. Louis has to offer. And then Josh had mentioned like family and like balancing like family and living in St. Louis. It's literally a balance because it's like on one end you have, well, I have sometimes 16, 18 credit hours, practicum, you have to work, and then I have family and the many demands that come with family. So, and then friends, and then new friends. And so it's like, it's not even a balance. It's like a juggle of like everything. And I really don't know how I do it. But I literally just take one day at a time and just appreciate living in St. Louis and appreciating the moment that I get to be at home and literally like going back to live and practicing and playing here. I get to see the changes in my community. One, being on the inside as a student, being able to kind of go and learn about different organizations that's actually doing the work. And then I get to like process it on my own. And then two, on the other side, because I'm from the city, College Hill neighborhood, one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in the city, getting to see the impact that it has, it meaning either the solutions or the problems have on the people reside in the community, and then also just being able to really help fix those problems, and then knowing that I'm actually playing a part in fixing those problems. So yeah, living in St. Louis for me is truly a blessing, and it's transforming me every single day.
Oh, and I do just want to add, everything's like 20 minutes away. So there's not much traffic, which I love, and you'll like it too.
That's a great point. I feel like, you know, when we're stuck in like a 15 or 20 minute traffic jam here in St. Louis, you have to kind of put it into context, right?
Yeah.
All right, for sure. All right, well, so I definitely have one more question for you all before we take a break and do some reminders, and that question is about like housing. So this is one of the practical questions that came in prior to this broadcast. But the question is, you know, finding housing. Like, what was your process for finding housing here in St. Louis, based on your different contexts and experiences? And also, too, like, if you can talk about like cost of living, like, what you say it's low cost of living. Like, what does that look like? I'm not asking exactly like what's in your bank account or how much your rent is, but you know, but yeah, actually, how much is your rent? Like, what do students on average around you pay for rent? Like, what does it actually look like?
Well, I know for me, I came in thinking that what my rent currently is was so affordable, and it's not, I like overpay. But typically what students can pay is you can get, you know, a one bedroom here for like $700-800 a month. You can get a really big 2-bedroom for like $950 a month, and you can have a roommate with that. I think students typically, you know, I think there's an average of paying like $500 or $600 a month for rent, which is, you know, really super affordable. So that was good. And finding housing, I know that WashU has a lot of connections in how they can help you find housing. I've had a few friends who have done it through the school. For me, I just went online on Zillow and just found a realtor who was showing different apartments, and that's one way to do it too. I'm sure there's easier, simpler ways, but that was really breezy too, though, and she just showed us around a bunch of different neighborhoods, and we picked where we're at, and you can be at an apartment that's very close to WashU, like even walking distance, and it be really affordable. So it's just finding the areas that are going to work for your commuting styles, but there's also buses and bus links as well. So there's a lot of different ways to get around, but it's relatively, really affordable for college students.
Phew, 900. So I pay
For a 2-bedroom.
I have a 2-bedroom. And I pay, with the dog, including her rent, I pay $650 for a 2-bedroom.
By yourself?
By myself.
Sorry.
I'm getting worse and worse news the more I realize how much I'm overpaying.
We can work on that offline. We're going to take care of it.
Okay,
Sure,
thank
yeah.
you. I need to get out of my lease.
You're not renewing.
So I'm sorry. So it's all really about too, like your comfortability level and like how close to campus you really want to live. So St. Louis currently today we have a bunch of different municipalities in the county that's surrounding U City and which is like the WashU area. So I live in this little municipality called Overland, and my commute to campus is only like a 15-minute drive. Secret, I drive to like a bus stop because you get free parking pass. You get free bus passes in transit. So I park at a bus stop and I hop on the green line to come to campus. So I get free parking, cheap rent, and I'm not that far away from campus, but also I feel it. But also, just do your research. If you look at a map of like the St. Louis region, like look in areas such as like Overland, Maryland Heights, Maplewood, just those are a few just to name. If you look at those areas, you can probably find cheaper rent, but again, it's just all about deciding how close you want to live to campus, your commute, take into account if you have transportation, just take all of that into account. And yeah, you can find really cheap rent here, like $900. But that's cheap to people. Keep in mind, I'm from St. Louis, so I don't really have a huge comparison rate, but yeah, you can find some really affordable housing here.
That's great. So one of the things that, just to kind of provide some context, I've lived in St. Louis for 16 years, and I've paid usually right around between $900 to $1,500 a month here in St. Louis.
Okay.
So in all fair, and that's renting, and that's apartments, and that's 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
So
Feel a little better.
it just depends on kind of, it depends on what your needs are and where you're at. I have since moved to the city, and it's less. We'll leave it at that, but we'll talk afterwards. So there's a lot of really good reasons. So it's really up to you. It depends on what your lifestyle is. If you're coming from, I just taught in Berkeley, California this past a couple weeks ago, and now I have students out there who each pay about $650 a month for rent. So, it just depends on their context and where you're coming from. But as you can hear, even at the $900 rate, that's, for some of you on the coast, I'm certain that that's sounding really nice right about now. All right, so we're gonna transition to just a few reminders. Keeping those live questions coming in, and we'll get back to that in a moment, but I do want to remind you of a few things. February 15th is our deadline for our Master's Research Fellowship Program, and so those are opportunities to do work and research with our research centers and faculty members. They're worth about $5,000 per year, up to 2 years. So make sure that if you're interested in doing a Master's Research Fellowship that you apply by February 15th. Mid-March, those decisions are going to be released. To learn more information, check out brownschool.wustl.edu/MRF. That's brownschool.wustl.edu/MRF. In order to be eligible to apply for MRF, you have to have a completed and submitted application for MSW or the MPH program. So that's just a reminder that if you want to apply for that, make sure you get those applications submitted and completed in order to be considered for these as well. In addition, we have just another upcoming priority deadline for applications. March 1st is our regular decision priority deadline. That means that after that point, we will get those applications turned around no longer than 6 to 8 weeks. You'll have an answer on your admission decision. After that, we will still accept applications after March 1st. We'll do a rolling admission. So, and again, it's about 6 to 8 weeks before you'll get your answer on those as well. So get those applications in. Make sure you contact us at our office if you have any questions about the application at all. We'll be happy to talk through any of those with you. For admitted students, pay attention to Admitted Student Weekend, which this year is April 5th and 6th. You can learn more at brownschool.worcester.edu/ASW. It's a great weekend to be here. If you can afford to be here and you can help being here, definitely don't miss it. This is an opportunity to meet current incoming cohort members, potential colleagues and peers that you're going to be working with over the next year, and start to establish some of those relationships with those of you who are coming from outside of the region, start negotiating housing, etc. But you'll also get a chance to sit in on a lecture. You'll get a chance to hear about all of the resources that we have here at the Brown School and about our connections here in the St. Louis area. So you get to learn a lot at Admitted Student Weekend. We get a lot of high marks on that weekend, so please come through. And then we have our need-based applications for our scholarships, and just make sure that you're applying to those as well. You can find those on brownschool.worcester.edu/admitted-student. Finally, make sure as you're considering applications, any of you who are considering still doing that, we have some of our deadlines posted up there as well. Make sure to check those out when you get a moment. And again, if you want to email us at brownadmissions@wustl.edu for any questions regarding any of the information that we've just provided. We'd be more than happy to set up some time to talk to you. We'll reply to you via email. We won't text you back, but we definitely will keep any lines of communication open with you. All right, so we're looking to, I just wanted to make sure that we get a moment to answer some questions that may have come in live here. And so, but while we're waiting on that, I am curious about the two of you. I want to get away from the rant thing altogether.
Thank you.
That's touchy.
Can we do that?
Topic.
Yeah, so we're gonna switch away from that altogether. There's some people who are like, that's way too expensive, and some people are like, that's way too cheap. So I'm sure there's a whole host of reactions to that. And so I think that was a real fun and honest moment for us here. But we do have some questions that have come in live. And so let's just jump onto this first one. And the first question is, does the Brown School help you choose your practicum, or did you have to find it yourself? And so both of you are going through practicum experiences right now, so it'd be great for each of you to kind of talk about kind of your experiences identifying practicum in and around the St. Louis region.
Okay, well, for me, being from St. Louis, I definitely leveraged my relationships. So short answer, I found mine myself, and it was also just an opportunity I went for. So my practicum at the St. Louis Regional Chamber, let me start putting pieces together for you real quick. And so the summer that I was coming into the Brown School, I did an internship at Worldwide Technology. So another note, we have a lot of huge corporations here in St. Louis, and corporate social responsibility is another big key thing that you all should look into as social workers. But I digress. So I did my internship in the Human Resource Department at Worldwide Technology. During that summer, I was learning about the other opportunities they had, one specifically being the Global Leadership Forum, which is being launched from Dave Stewart, which is the chairman and founder of Worldwide Technology. One of my mentors introduced me to what the Global Leadership Forum was intended to do, because at this point, and it's still currently brand new, and ultimately, like, what we're trying to do with the Global Leadership Forum is provide a technology base that's going to bring in a more diverse population into STEM careers. So we're doing like lifelong learning from kindergarten all the way out to you finding your career. This technology platform is going to guide you throughout getting into these different STEM platforms. So with that being said, at the St. Louis Regional Chamber, Ms. Valerie Patton, she is over the operations of the Global Leadership Forum. So with her being my current faculty, in foundation, she was my field instructor, and my mentor being really close, remember, relationships, I was able to be connected with Ms. Valerie Patton because she has an MSW, she's an alumni of the Brown School, and I was able to help with, and I'm still able to help with the operations of the Global Leadership Forum and helping to plan the summit. And so just from that aspect itself, I got to learn a whole lot more about the different pieces that move in St. Louis. So short answer, My practicum found me.
Yeah, for me, my short answer on this would probably be yes and no. The Brown School helps guide you to find your practicum. They will meet with you and you tell them what you're interested in, what it is that you're looking for out of a career, what you hope to get out of a practicum, all these different things, and then they can give you a whole list of suggestions and contact information, or you could do it on your own. You don't have to go in and see anyone. You can just go online. There's a bunch of practicums online and they have all their information. If you want a little bit more guided help, which I did, you can go into any one of our field advisors. They have open hours. They're very willing to talk to you, and she was able to give me a whole list of ones that I'd be interested in with their contact information based on what I told her, and she found a perfect fit. So yes and no.
And don't we also have practicum fairs?
We do.
that
I think
students
so,
can go to? So you'll definitely get a lot of support within the Brown School to find practicum. So you'll definitely get help, but also if you see something outside the Brown School, it's also ways where they can become affiliated with the Brown School. So really, your options are completely open. It's up to you.
That's great. So I think, Arissa, you talked a little bit about this question that's come up here, but if you can talk about some like specific tasks, that maybe you didn't cover, or even Desiree, if you want to jump in and talk about some specific tasks in your practicum experience, either one of you or both of you.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's only been 2 weeks, so it's been very kind of short. I know I'm going to have a lot more tasks. I'm getting adjusted, but some of my tasks so far have been to create e-newsletters, to reach out to different businesses and update our contact sheets, to help plan for this networking event that we have going on, and going and doing the site visit, making sure it's a good hall to host all of our businesses to get connected to each other. So I've just been doing a lot of outreach, a lot of kind of Excel spreadsheets to get contact information in line. I've been doing a lot of site visits, actually. They've been allowing me to sit in on meetings that they have with other businesses, so I get to go out of the office a lot and kind of absorb, and because in the future I will be having to present myself to different businesses, so just kind of getting warmed up to what that's going to look like. But that's been my task so far.
Excuse me. So, like I said before, I've done the same practicum from foundation and concentration. In order to do that, the tasks have to be completely different. Foundation was more about specifically developing out the operations for the Global Leadership Forum. So I did a lot of research on collective impact, strategic initiatives, and the evidence-based practice assignment that you'll hear so much about. That was all revolved around the Global Leadership Forum. On top of that, a lot of my tasks were to go to different board meetings. I took a lot of notes. I did just a lot of learning on my foundation phase. Now on concentration, I'm actually the project manager of the 3rd annual summit that we're doing for the Global Leadership Forum. I'm helping to plan out a regional talent retraction and retention plan with the St. Louis Regional Chamber. So basically with that, I developed out a program, and we're still working on it, that's going to bring in students that's within a 250-mile radius of Missouri, bring them into the region so they can learn more about the opportunities that we have here. And it's more workforce focused, so building out the workforce. Let's see, I have lots of tasks, but overall my tasks are more so planning for programs, meeting new people. That's a task because when you develop out your ELA, you'll learn again about that. You have to be specific about what it is that you want to learn. One of the things I wanted to learn was who are the power players, who are the stakeholders, who are the community members, and from that I get to interview people, and I'm typing out a big report to just put all of that together. So my tasks have a lot of different directions, and I'm trying to tell people around me that it's a method to the madness. And so stay tuned for when I graduate in May. It's all going to come together, I promise.
That's great. Thank you both for sharing your experiences. Another question that came up about parking, which is another practical question. I'd love to hear your perspective on this. What's parking look like at WashU? Is there parking, street parking? Do you take advantage of the parking lots? Do you pay for parking? Do you know anyone who pays for parking? I'll give my take on it, but I'd love to get a student's perspective on it for sure.
You want me to I am walking distance from WashU. Maybe that explains the rent. But anyways, so I try to walk as much as I can because parking can get expensive here. They have yearly passes, but some students do them. I chose not to. We do have a parking garage all the way across campus from the Brown School where you can pay if you choose certain days to come in, certain days you don't want to drive in. That they do have that as an option, and I've used that before when it's not too cold. I'm fortunate that my fiance will drive me a lot, so I don't have to, but parking is limited here if I'm going to be fully honest, so finding maybe other ways, or if you can invest in the parking pass or whatever it is, however you need to get here, it's an important thing to think about.
So parking is free after 5 on the street and in the garage. But again, it is extremely limited in terms if you want to park throughout the day. So only time I park on campus is if it's after 5 and I have class or I'm coming here to study or something. Other than that, again, I just drive, I park on a residential street, and then I take the green line to campus, and that's completely free. And it's convenient for me.
It's also free to park. Sorry, I just realized that it is free to park in the Forest Park area, and you can walk right over. It's not far. I know a lot of students who do that as well. And if you buy a parking pass to, there's like some loophole. If you buy a parking pass to our North Campus and then take the shuttle bus over here, it's a little cheaper. So there's ways around it.
Yeah. So one of the things, if you've been to our campus, you've seen is a pretty substantial construction project happening on the I guess it's the East End project that's happening on campus. A big part of that is an underground parking garage, and so a big part of what these folks have experienced since they've been here is they've never experienced the Brown School or Washington University when we had all that parking, and that's coming back. So it's super exciting, but it is pretty, there's a cost associated with it, and for graduate students it may be something that may be out of your range, out of your budget, and so I think those are great recommendations for negotiating using the free Metro Pass, which allows you to use the Metro or the bus lines, as well as parking in close areas and either metroing or busing in or walking in. We see it every day. Faculty and staff actually do that as well. And so a lot of people take advantage of the close proximity and free parking options. And I'm working on getting a fiance to drive me to work. If that happens, I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right. So there's a question here about, I think I'll take over maybe the next 2 questions. And one of them is, even if one of you has a perspective on this, but is this a good place for somebody who wants to do licensed clinical therapy, or is this more focused on some other types of social work? And I'll give my take on it, and if y'all have takes, nod your head yes, and I'll pass it to you in a second then. I've been able to work here, and I brought in, I'm working on my 4th recruitment class into the Brown School, and next year will be the 5th one, and fortunately I've been able to see where people land after their time here at the Brown School, and so while there's been some myth out there that says that this school is all about macro work, but I'd love to kind of get your take on this. And what I'm seeing is a lot of students who are going right into their LMSWs or going right into clinical practice right away. And so we have a substantial amount of students. In fact, our 2 most popular concentrations are mental health and children, youth, and family, which indicates something of more of a mix, or at least different than that. So we, I think, have a great balance in all those areas. You hear about policy, you hear about practice, and you hear about research. And that's what we're all about. So that's the official line. That's what I see from my experiences. Our career services online on our website, brownschool.worcester.edu, actually does our annual report of where our students land, and so you can actually see the types of jobs to fact check that as well, which probably is going to be helpful for some of you to go online and take a look at that. But I'd love to hear from the 2 of you, kind of based on your experiences or what you've seen here. Are you seeing people who want to do licensed clinical social work or direct practice, and what does that look like here?
Yeah, so I see people that want to do a lot of things. Clinical and direct practice, I do see a lot of people that want to go into those tracks and that are currently working towards that, but it hasn't been anything that I really haven't seen being done yet, and there's many things that people want to do. So we do have a lot of support in the clinical therapy. My focus is more on the macro level, but I like micro level stuff, but that's not really where I'm going with it, but if that's what you're into, it's a lot of support, it's a lot of faculty members, and it's a lot of students here currently. So if you come to Admitted Students Weekend, you can talk to students that are currently in those tracks, and from what I hear, they absolutely love it. I haven't heard any bad things about the clinical track at all.
Yeah, same. I've heard amazing things about the clinical track. It's a very big option. A lot of students do it from what I've been hearing. I am with Arissa being a little bit more macro based, but what's great about the Brown School is that they actually allow you to kind of dabble in both. And your first semester especially, you can still be figuring it out because the classes are typically foundation level classes and everyone has to take them. So if you're still unsure, you have so many options to try to figure that out. But I know when I came here on Admitted Students Weekend, I had a tour guide who she got a job right out of way before graduating as a counselor at a school, which is exactly what she wanted to do in the city that she wanted to do it in. It was over in Tennessee, so she didn't even stay here. So they have connections for you to do whatever you want to do, and licensed clinical therapy is a huge track that people do, and we have great professors for it, great practicums for it. So I definitely think if you're interested in doing that, you should still be looking into WashU Brown School.
Thank you both. So we have another question here about kind of the opioid crisis and if we have any faculty members doing research in this area. And so I just want to make note of David Patterson, who's our Silver Wolf, David Patterson Silver Wolf, who has the new Center on Addiction Service paired with community partnerships. And so I think one of the things that you can do is if you can go to brownschool.wilschool.edu and look at David Patterson and some of the work that they're doing over there. I think you'll see some great work on that. That's from the social work side and maybe public health side, but I would also encourage you to take a look at a lot of what our public health faculty are studying, all things when it comes to health outcomes, health disparities, and there's no doubt that we have faculty in the game there doing some really good work from a public health and from a social work perspective. This next question comes up from an MPH student who's interested in health policy analysis. The question is, what kinds of opportunities do Brown School students have to get involved in state and local politics? And so I think one of you might have mentioned something about that. Do any of you know anything about kind of some of the work that students are doing in state and local politics? Absolutely, let's try that out.
So again, St. Louis, it's relationships, and it's a small town, kinda, sorta, not really. But when you come, you'll see what I mean. But it's a lot of opportunities to get involved with state and local politicians. Just being in the Brown School alone and the reputation that we have in the region and in St. Louis, you automatically have a connection to politicians and really any other leader or anyone in St. Louis. Like, you literally have access to all of these people. It's about building relationships and making yourself known. So yeah, that's really my take on that. Just when you come in the Brown School, look for the people that's doing the work in the field that you want to do. Look for professors who's doing the specific type or similar type of research, and just network, because one person can connect you to another person and they connect you to another person. In St. Louis is so close-knit, you can get a connection that fast. So yeah, I'm definitely sure you can get connections with politicians here in St. Louis and in the region.
Yeah, I've had, very same opinion. I know in my social welfare policy class, which everyone has to take, I got to actually meet House of Representatives who are serving right now in the state of St. Louis. A senator came in and spoke with us as well. Someone who ran for Congress came in and spoke to it, but then ended up just staying in the state, more local politics, but still was like up there trying to do federal politics. He came in and spoke in our class. If you ever have the chance to take Kathy Brown, she was my professor. She really got a lot of politicians to come in and speak to us. And then if you make connections with them, they can help you. I also know the Brown School has connections in Washington, D.C., where you can do internships for like a couple weeks. I don't know the exact timing, but you can do internships over in Washington, D.C. in politics in the federal Capitol. We also have a Jefferson City internship where you can do for the semester, and you can go to Jefferson City for 2 days of the week, I believe, and doing work over there, and they help you with transportation of doing that. So definitely a lot of opportunities that they have in trying to get involved in politics.
Excellent. So I know this student was a public health student, and so just a couple of things to mention. We have the Clark Fox Policy Institute, which is, and the Policy Scholars Program, which are great. And so definitely take a look at that on our website. I know that students have had a chance to go to the DC and present policy briefs on Capitol Hill. So there's some real time policy work that students are doing in their preparation here at the Brown School. And again, we talk about policy, practice, and research at every level, micro, meso, macro. I know you've heard those terms from us before, but it's really important that you know that we're in the game and that we have students who get a chance to interact at every level. And so if you have an interest in engaging on whether you're public health or social work, you'll have an opportunity. And I should also go ahead and share this. While we don't have an external application for this, all students at the Brown School who come in are also eligible to apply for our Master of Social Policy program. That's a program that started off. We have our first incoming class this year, and so that program is going to be growing every year, and that's a pretty exciting opportunity. So if you're interested in doing a dual degree within the Brown School in social policy, that gives you a great opportunity to apply for that once you come with us, join us in the Brown School, and we can get you connected with more information on that, or you can go to our website to find out more. All right, so we have a question here about what kind of support exists for students for their mental health or their emotional health, especially there's a variety of topics that come up for people as they transition any place, whether it's transitioning jobs, transitioning cities, coming from other places around the globe, or whether you're coming from right across the river. And so kind of what are the supports for students in St. Louis? And then also too, there's another, it seems like a specific question here, for students who identify as LGBTQ and in that community, what does that look like? And have we built those communities here at the Brown School, and what does that support look like? So I'd like to open up to the two of you, if you know of anybody or yourself, if you've taken advantage of the student groups or our mental health services, what type of support do you know that's around the Brown School?
So I know for mental health and emotional health, we have counselors on staff at WashU. You get a certain amount of, because we have health insurance whether you stay on your own or if you take WashU's, but you get a certain amount that are free for being a student, and then after that health insurance will help pay for the rest. And it's been great. They really try to be open to you, have available slots. They have a lot of different counselors who either graduated from the Brown School, have their PhDs, MSWs, LCSWs, very highly qualified counselors who are here for their students on campus. I also know for students who identify as LGBTQ+, there is a lot of conversations that go on in our classrooms around the gender identity, people's identities, trying to be very inclusive. There's a lot of inclusion conversations. And I was really impressed and surprised with how much WashU is really taking the initiative on this topic and trying to make sure everyone's feeling included and welcomed, and that there isn't any discrimination or isn't anyone feeling left out or like they can't express themselves fully. So from my own experience, there's, maybe Arissa or Josh can get into more, but I just know I've been really impressed with how many different projects we've had on the subject. I know in my human diversity and social justice class, that was an extensive topic where we read a lot of articles and we had a lot of conversations and some tough conversations, but generally just trying to make everybody feel welcomed and included here. So.
Yeah, and building community at the Brown School, it's definitely all about you reaching out. I echo everything that Desiree just said, but also too, you have to reach out to those communities. We have a lot of student groups that are here. For me, I kind of just found my community in people that I can relate to most, many of which are Black women, African American professors and students, because it was kind of a culture shock for me just coming to a primarily white institution where I am one of few brown faces in the building, and also being a culture shock being from the community in St. Louis that we talk about all the time, and then come into this really privileged institution. So my community here was really just kind of handpicked, and so I would recommend that everyone that comes here do the same, pick those who you feel you can closely relate to, because as a graduate student, whether you come here or anywhere, it's going to be challenging, and it's going to be times where you're going to feel really overwhelmed with the coursework, with the transition of being in a new city or a new town, all these new people. It can get really overwhelming, and even with me being in my home city, being around all the support that I have, it was really overwhelming for me. So when you come here or wherever you go, just handpick your community, get to know people that are in your classrooms, reach out to not only the faculty members and professors that are there, but get to know the staff that are on campus as well, because people are really here to support you, whether they completely identify with where you are. It's really supportive here, and it's all about what you make it.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you both for sharing your perspective. So I represent academic affairs. That's where admission lies, and there's a lot of people who are employed at the Brown School through academic affairs. Some of those people, SE, for instance, Rockman, who's our director who works with students who are in crisis and need support. We do have student health services, as mentioned before, that provides mental health services for students. We have Zach, who works with all of our student groups. We have a ton of student leadership opportunities, so that's another way of getting engaged. As you know, whenever you transition to a community, no matter whether it's for work or whether it's for a job, one of the first things you have to do is create your community. Identify, connect with the community. And so there are a lot of student organizations, including SAGA, which is our LGBTQ plus student group here, who does a lot of programming and a lot of support, a lot of community education, and is really helping to mold the culture of the Brown School. And so I think that's important. I also want to note that the Brown School is the leader in social work and public health when it comes to creating a culture of support and inclusion. We lead with the idea of equity. And I think that's something that's very important. I would challenge you to take a look at when it comes to other institutions that you're considering. We are the ones who are setting the trends and leading the curve on a lot of that work. And so we're doing the most work, and I feel 100% confident in challenging all my colleagues across the country in their respective institutions and say that with confidence. And what our hope is that everybody would work as hard as we are working towards these issues and to support our students and all their identities. And so, but with that being said, we are the best at that work. And so I really feel confident about that. And I think you will too when you decide to join our community. So we do have a couple more questions here. So we have a question about non-traditional students and their population, in particular older students, and I can speak briefly to that for sure. So we have students which we I think initially affectionately called Next Move students. These are students who are returning back to school at a later time of the year. Maybe they have other degrees and they've gone into practice and they've decided to return for graduate work. We've had students in the past who've gone on, had law degrees and practiced for 7 years and returned to us. We have physicians, dentists who've gone out and practiced for a while and decided they want to get a public health degree, and so they return to our programs as well. And so there's a whole host of students. I mean, our youngest student this year I think is 20 or 21, and our oldest student is somewhere in the high 50s. I'm sure they wouldn't mind it if we shared who they are, but we've had students here as old as close to 70, and so there's quite a range of students who come here. It's a great place for students. I think one of the things when I talk to non-traditional age students is, will I fit in? Is it going to be a bunch of 22-year-olds and am I going to feel odd? And one thing we love is that we do have students who are right from undergrad here. And the one thing we love is we have students, a significant range that are 5 to 7 years out, and then we have a nice population of students who are beyond that time. And so we get a whole host of different experiences, which is invaluable in the classroom. People with different practices, different backgrounds, different identities, different life experiences. And that's a fantastic thing for a learning environment. And you can't find anything better than what you find here when it comes to that. And so I like to take credit for kind of being a part of the admissions team and bring a broad range of students in and give the faculty credit because they are actually pretty incredible, and that impresses and attracts a lot of students. But there's this other more really important part, which is you all, which is the students. And so we do love that, the fact that we pull in students from such a broad range of backgrounds and experiences. So if you're a non-traditional age student who's considering the Brown School, if you do decide to come to Admitted Student Weekend, we'll have a breakfast. We'll make sure that other non-traditional students have a chance, as well as other affinity groups, have a chance to connect with each other during Admitted Student Weekend. But in the meantime, contact our office if you want to get perspectives from other students who represent identities that you'd like to connect with about their transition. And our office will work with you to get you connected with those students so you can start email and phone conversations and learn more from their perspectives. So don't just take it from me. Everything that we say here on this broadcast today, I encourage you to test us out on it because we feel really good about who we are and what we have to offer. All right, so we have we have enough time for one more question here real quick. So how common is it for students who study at the Brown School to relocate or practice elsewhere after graduation? And so I'm going to take this one briefly before I turn it over to you to kind of close this out. But if you look at our Career Center, they'll tell you regionally and nationally, internationally, where our students end up. So you can definitely look at that online. We have quite a decent number of students who want to stay in the St. Louis area for the first few years of practice, and then we have a lot of students who do go outside of the region, return back to their hometowns, or try something new. And so I encourage you to go online and check out our Career Services most recent report. And then if you have some real specifics about a particular state or region, let us know. We'll get you connected with career services, and they can kind of work with you to give you some details on what do kind of job prospects look like, or even graduate school to further education for a PhD or an MD look like on your other respective areas. Before we close out, I just want to give you two chances to give your 30-second kind of final thought, and then we'll wrap it up. So please, definitely, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so all of what I was saying is just about when you come to the Brown School or anywhere you go, just be open to possibilities, be open to new relationships, and be open to changing the field that you thought that you were going to go in once you applied here.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, so very similar to what Arissa's saying. I don't know if I'll be staying in St. Louis, so to that last question, I have been talking to advisors who are asking, oh, do you want to go back to New York? Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to California? And it definitely seems like if you want to move outside of St. Louis after graduation, you can. But a lot of people do choose to stay because it's a city that you might not think you would love, but you end up loving, as I have in the short time I've been here. And yeah, I just really think take advantage of all the opportunities that WashU has to offer. Be really open to learning new things, to trying new things, and get very comfortable with the idea of doing something that you didn't plan on doing when coming in.
Great. So just for my kind of final thoughts on this, most of our students come from outside of the St. Louis region, but we're fortunate to have folks who come back home, as well as folks who come from around the world to stay with us and study public health, social work, and social policy. And I think that's something that that we really value here. We want you to make sure that you tune in February 20th. We have our next virtual information session where we're going to cover our faculty, which is going to be a great opportunity to learn about kind of who's in the classroom and who's teaching, who's doing the research, and get a chance for you to get to know a few of those faces. My final thought here is that graduate school is about learning. It's about acquiring knowledge, skills, content that's going to prepare you for your next steps, whether that's furthering your education or jumping right into practice, policy, and research, and that's really important. But ultimately, the most important thing is we're teaching you a process that you can replicate for life. A love of learning, a love of being curious, a love of being really engaged with this idea of equity and making a difference and being a contribution. That's what this is really all about. And if that's something that you're about, then this is the right institution for you. There's a space for you here, and we're going to save it for you if you decide to come in order to make sure that you're meeting those needs and finding out whatever your personal vision is. We have a way to help you kind of get there. So again, thank you for joining in, and we look forward to seeing you February 20th.